First, okay. We'll call this meeting to order. September 13th, 2017. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same, as provided by law, the schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilman Halshay.
Here.
Councilman Seaton.
Here.
Councilman Voigt.
Here.
Councilwoman Walsh. Here. And Mayor Newton.
Here. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll just start with a few administrative items. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statement of funds on hand as of August 31st, 2017 be accepted as submitted.
Second. Halshay.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh. Yes. And Newton.
Yes. I move that the village council minutes of March 1st, March 15th, March 22nd, March 27th, and April 5th, 2017, having been reviewed by the village council and now available in the village clerk's office, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Halshay.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh. Yes. And Newton.
Yes. And we have a few proclamations to read, and Deputy Mayor Seaton will begin with Fire Prevention Week.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our town, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are in locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires and home fire injuries, while heating equipment and smoking are the leading causes of home fire deaths. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas the 2017 Fire Prevention Week theme, Every Second Counts, Plan 2 Ways Out, is all about keeping the residents of the Village of Ridgewood, their families, and their community safer from fire through educational materials and tip sheets on the leading causes of home fires, life-saving technologies, and the importance of home escape planning. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim the week of October 8th, 2017 through October 14th, 2017 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the village, and urges all residents to protect their homes and families by heeding the important safety messages of Fire Prevention Week 2017.
Thank you. Councilwoman Walsh.
Whereas the United States of America, through its armed forces, has had many heroes who have defended the lives and liberties of all of their fellow Americans, and whereas many of these heroes have lost their lives in order to defend the virtues of our hard-won liberty and security, and whereas the parents, spouses, and children of these fallen heroes, known as American Gold Star mothers and families, are aware of the exceptional spirit of service which their military family members possessed, which led them to protect and preserve the freedoms which we as Americans enjoy every single day. And whereas the Gold Star families have the courage and strength to comfort other families, support veterans, and give back to their communities. And whereas the Congress of the United States, by Senate Joint Resolution 115 of June 23, 1936, has designated the last Sunday in September as Gold Star Mother's Day. And whereas Marine parents began an initiative several years ago to encourage Americans to light a luminary on Gold Star Mother's Day. And whereas on the evening of Sunday, September 24th, the Village of Ridgewood will observe Gold Star Mother's Day in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square by placing luminaries on the outskirts of the park to honor and acknowledge the mothers and families of our fallen heroes. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, in recognition of this event, does hereby proclaim Sunday, September 24th, 2017, as Gold Star Mother's Day in the Village of Ridgewood, and does hereby encourage all residents to light a luminary at their homes in honor and recognition of the families of the fallen soldiers throughout the United States of America.
Thank you. Councilman Voigt.
Thank you. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood values the health of all its citizens, and whereas the Village of Ridgewood supports awareness of diseases such as breast cancer, which affects the lives of its citizens, and whereas October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month educates women about the importance of early detection for breast cancer, and whereas since the inception of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, mammography use has doubled and breast cancer death rates have declined, and whereas the Village of Ridgewood would like to promote the use of mammography as the best available method for detecting breast changes that may be cancer, and whereas breast cancer deaths would decline further if all women age 40 and older received mammograms at relative intervals. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood urges all women and their families in the Village of Ridgewood to get the facts about mammography and proclaims October 2017 as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as we rededicate ourselves to the pursuit of new and better ways to prevent, detect, and treat this devastating disease in the Village of Ridgewood.
Thank you. Councilman Hache.
Whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, in partnership with Walktoberfest and Safe Routes Initiatives, recognizes the importance of walking and would like to encourage more residents to recognize walking opportunities within the village. And whereas a lack of physical activity plays a leading role in rising rates of obesity, diabetes, and other health problems among children and adults, and choosing to walk whenever possible offers an opportunity to build activity into daily routine while providing tangible benefits to physical and mental health. And whereas choosing to drive a vehicle contributes significantly to traffic and parking congestion and air pollution each and every day. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood was designed to encourage walking neighborhoods and a walkable central business district by choosing to build neighborhood schools, developing an accessible business zone, and continuing efforts to create pedestrian-friendly environments. And whereas the entire month of October will be dedicated to encouraging and providing walking opportunities within the village by implementing a series of walkable tours throughout the village, including schools, houses of worship, governmental buildings, central business district, and more. And whereas the Walktoberfest Village Tours will highlight unique aspects of Ridgewood life by including important information about each tour stop to include, among other things, historic, cultural, artistic, and neighborhood facts. And whereas the Village Council encourages residents and visitors to participate in this exciting event and to sign up for walking tours to learn more about the village life while enjoying the benefits of choosing to walk as part of a healthy lifestyle. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, in recognition of this event, does hereby proclaim October 2017 as Walktoberfest in the Village of Ridgewood, and does hereby encourage all residents to find a way to participate in Walktoberfest and to make walking a part of the daily routine during the month of October and throughout the year.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to public comments, not to exceed 3 minutes per person, for a total of 40 minutes.
Rorick, Hallaby, 374 Evergreen Place. A term was used in the last meeting, decorum. I looked it up. Decorum is behavior in keeping with good taste and propriety. To me, the more important attributes in operating the village council include intellectual integrity, transparency, honesty, and respect for the intelligence of the residents of Ridgewood. Let me repeat: intellectual integrity, transparency, honesty, and respect for the intelligence of the residents of Ridgewood. Now, to give an example, in the last meeting, a resident asked about who would take over the space that would be vacated by the water department if the Elks Lodge was acquired. The honest and transparent answer would have been that the move will be to accommodate the police department's expansion plans to a great extent. I do not believe this has ever been mentioned publicly. Why the lack of transparency? On another subject, the issuance of, I believe, 13 million in village bonds or notes. What is the use of proceeds? It was never, at least never mentioned publicly. I understand 1.6 million, I might be wrong, but I understand, is earmarked for the acquisition of a town garage. Am I correct? If so, was this ever discussed publicly? I also understand this was barely discussed at the village council level. Another example of lack of transparency. One last point I want to make is Resolution 1717278, the first study of Hudson Street parking lot as area in need of redevelopment to Planning Board. And here you'd be directing someone to hire this Bridget Bogart. Now the question is, has anyone made the case why this area is in need of redevelopment, short of taking a shortcut in the process? Secondly, it's important that Bridget Bogart, or Bogart, is totally independent of this committee, of this council. You need to hire someone who is totally unbeholden to any one of you. Now, if she's the lady who had represented one of the alphabet soup organizations that came up, the Vocalantes, you know, the CDC or CRC or RCC, I've lost track, and then was kind of rewarded by being chosen to be the village planner for the planning board, she should be kept out of it. You should get someone totally independent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Denise Lima, 319 East Glen Ave in Ridgewood. First, I read the minutes from last meeting. I echo the fact that the sound in this room, you guys talking, us talking, garbled, I echo the sentiments about addressing that. Loved the Music Fest. I thought that went over really well. I was there the whole time. It was crowded. People were dancing. Really, really great time. The National Breast Cancer Awareness, thank you for doing that. I'm a survivor myself from ovarian cancer, getting onto year 5. It would be great if we could take the teal and the pink together maybe and somehow kind of combine that. I don't know enough about all of the Central Valley proposals that is coming up in later on in the discussion. But if we don't do something for the residents and we have to pay for the valet as well, you're going to scare more residents away. And Summit, just as a best practice, Summit, New Jersey, they have parking for residents and they have parking for non-residents that's tiered in a different pricing and at different time spans. So it gets local residents in and out and wanting to shop locally while also making enough room for people from out of town to come in. So I don't know all the details, so I apologize for that. What I'd really like to just talk about in the next minute and a half, I would say, is a little bit more of a presentation or a more formal recommendation to the Planning Board and to the Historical Society in evaluating East Glen Ave as more of a historic district, the 12th historic district in Ridgewood. And I say that because there's so much, not just history, but more historical events that have happened on this road back to the Revolution time. We've been reading in the last probably 2 months over 30 books, different atlases, different maps, census from the 1700s, 1800s. I've met with, my husband can't stand that I stop and talk to everybody, but historians in Mahwah, Bergen County, the Benke family, New Jersey and New York Historical Society. I have everything documented and resourced. And the community has sent, I believe, some letters to the Historical Society and maybe to a few of you on the board that's looking for us to look into this more formally. And, I can probably go on for about a few hours. I feel like I've become an extended historical society family member. It's really been encouraging. But I'd like to maybe formally present it to you afterwards and give you some information on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. No other comments? Okay. We'll just close public comments with that. And moving on, we do have a statement on one item that was previously on our agenda. So we're going to do a statement on our declaratory judgment action. Back in June, the Village Council decided that tonight would be enough time to hold a public hearing to advise the public about the culmination of numerous discussions with the principals and attorneys of KS Broad and Enclave Developments, which would be memorialized in a settlement agreement. Back in June, it was thought that the site plan applications of both projects would be completed and there would be additional revisions made to the initial site plan proposals that would be filed. For two main reasons, the public hearing will not be going forward tonight. Number one, as a case management conference recently held in Superior Court on August 31st, Judge Toscos was advised of the status of the 4 principal developments in the village's CBD. The village attorney advised the court that the public hearing had been scheduled by the council for this evening, September 13th, to approve a settlement of discussions between the principals of the Enclave and K&S Broad with the village. The court stated that there should not be a public hearing as of yet because any settlement concerning affordable housing had to be approved by the court. If the parties were able to work out an agreement on development, it would be presented to the court at the fairness hearing, which is the public hearing that takes place in court, but has not yet been scheduled. Additionally, if there were changes to the zoning requirements as a result of the fairness hearing and any court-approved settlement, there would need to be master plan amendments adopted and ordinance changes, both of which would require public hearings. Second, the court and the village council don't want to burden or circumvent the planning board's process with a standing settlement agreement prior to the board's decision on whether to grant or deny a site plan application. The Enclave's revised site plan application has been through one hearing and is expected to be resolved at future hearings that should finish by, hopefully, the end of October. The planning board should be left to make its own determinations, free from any outside influence from the council or the court at this time. As a matter of case law, the planning board cannot be influenced by actions of the council or settlement of a lawsuit. It has to act as an independent, quasi-judicial board. The reasons why the council wanted to make this presentation tonight was to keep the public informed of the progress it was making in the discussions with the 2 developers, advise the public of the considerations and directions being taken to provide more pragmatic development, lessen the aesthetic and infrastructure impacts, and lower the density, make parking adjustments, and provide affordable and special needs residential opportunities that was not provided in the ordinances that were adopted in 2016. The discussions have proceeded in good faith, and all parties have been forthright and candid with their concerns. The discussions have led to adjustments and revisions from the original site plan applications submitted by these 2 developers. Those adjustments and revisions can be seen in the amended site plan applications that have been filed by the Enclave and most recently by K&S Broad. Additionally, many of you were aware of the lawsuit that challenged the adoption of the 2016 ordinances. The lawsuit has now been resolved by the court. One of the most important results of the discussions is that the Enclave application, as revised, makes a very realistic opportunity for additional special needs housing in the central business district if it is approved by the planning board. Both the council and developer recognize the benefit and the importance of providing such housing opportunity, and the developer, with the assistance of the United Way, will be working together to offer this to qualified individuals if the planning board decides to approve the application. So that is the reason for the removal of that particular item from the agenda this evening, and we'll continue to proceed with this, and again, all of that is in good faith. So, with that, we're moving on to the manager's report.
Okay, I have some good news. Ridgewood's Municipal Court received their annual visitation by the Bergen Vicinage Municipal Division of the Superior Court of New Jersey. The visitation included a detailed, comprehensive review of administration, procedures, financial records, management reports, and security. A 42-page report outlines the results of the visitation. Municipal Judge David Funn stated the report clearly displays the efficiency of municipal court operations and identifies many areas where the court staff excels. The legal, practical, and fundamental aspects of municipal court administration are interdependent and difficult. Receiving such an exceptional report this year validates the expertise of our court staff. And I would like to echo that. I think we do have wonderful court staff, and so I'm glad that this review is done and visitation is done, and they found what we have always believed, that they are excellent at what they do. I do want to notify residents that in August and September, multiple reports were made to the police department of burglaries to unlocked motor vehicles parking in residential driveways throughout the village. In addition, in the last 2 weeks alone, 2 unlocked motor vehicles have been stolen from residents' driveways. The residents actually left the keys or the key fob in the car and unlocked. The Ridgewood Police Department would like to remind residents to lock your cars, even in your own driveway, and please don't leave valuables visible in your vehicle at any time. Put them in your trunk or put them, underneath, I don't know, something in your open hatchback or whatever you want to do, because obviously that's going to attract people. And the one person who they've apprehended actually just indicated he would go down house by house, driveway by driveway. When he found an unlocked car, he'd go in. If there was stuff in the car, he'd take it if it was valuable. And then also, if there was a key, he'd take the car. So it's that simple. So I just urge you, please, to lock your cars and keep your valuables in your home, or at least out of sight in your car. The office of the Bergen County Clerk, I'm just reminding you, is here in Village Hall. They've been here the past 2 days from 10 to 2. Tomorrow is the last day they'll be here from 10 to 2 in the Annie Zuzi Youth Center. And they're taking passport applications. They're also taking pictures for passports, file business trade names. They can issue notary oaths, and they issue photo cards for veterans, senior citizens, and exempt firefighters. So if you do take advantage of this tomorrow, it will save you a trip to Hackensack. The 9/11 exhibit in the Ridgewood Library Auditorium of the portraits of the 12 Ridgewood residents who were lost in the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center is on display for the month of September every year in the library auditorium. So I encourage you to see that. It certainly keeps them close to our hearts, and it's a very difficult time, obviously, for many people here in the village. Bergen County Multicultural Family Wellness Day is this Saturday, September 16th, 12 to 4 p.m. at Van Swan Park in Forest Avenue in Paramus. There are kids' activities. It includes an animal van, dancers, and face painting. The Parks and Recreation Department is sponsoring the Fall Arts, Crafts, and Food Street Fair this Sunday, September 17th, from noon to 5 p.m. on East Ridgewood Avenue from Maple Avenue to Oak Street. This is one of the best craft fairs in the area, and so I certainly encourage people to come out and enjoy the weather and enjoy the vendors. We have an update on the new senior bus route. On Wednesdays, they're making 2 trips to the Interstate Mall in Ramsey. There are a wide variety of stores there, including a ShopRite. Call the manager's office, extension 203, to reserve a seat on the bus. Today we had 8 passengers on the bus, and the majority used the ShopRite, but many of them commented that this will be an excellent place for them to go as the holiday season comes nearer, as there are a lot of shops where they could do some of their holiday shopping. Gold Star Mothers and Families, American Legion Post 53, is celebrating the contribution made by mothers and families and their fallen family members at a ceremony on Sunday, September 24th in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square, beginning at 7 p.m. Luminaries line the paths in the park for the 7th annual ceremony.
Thank you. Councilman Voigt?
Thank you. So the planning board is meeting on the 19th, next Tuesday, and I believe it's a continuation of the Enclave development, which is on the corner of Maple and East Ridgewood Ave, and I think what is up next is the traffic studies on the particular area. I had the opportunity of going to the Village Hall picnic on last Friday and enjoyed it immensely. Thank you all for putting it together, including Heather. And it seemed like everybody was having a fairly good time, so thank you again. We had coffee with the council on September 9th at the stable. I had the opportunity to speak with several residents, spoke with one resident who happened to be the nurse who cared for Ramon Jr. while he was in the NICU. He seems to be a popular little kid. She had a good time with him, by the way. Yeah, so. Attended the ordination on Sunday evening, September 10th, for Reverend On at the United Methodist Church, which is the corner of Dayton and Prospect. Very lively event, and I think he's going to be a great addition to our community. Councilman Hache and Captain Lutke also attended, and I understand Ramon has a nickname in Korean. And what is that nickname? Patusan?
Pektusan,
And what is that?
Big Mountain.
So thank you, that's it.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. The Ridgewood Environmental Advisory Committee met yesterday downstairs in the garden room. We selected a new chair, resident Bob Upton, so we wish him the best of luck and offer all of our assistance to him. We discussed working closer with the Green Team for funding environmental initiatives, and we're going to set up a joint meeting to make that happen. And there's a whole slate of discussions that I will be periodically mentioning as the time draws near at the library that focuses on environmental issues. After that meeting, the Shade Tree Commission met, and same place in the garden room, and I have some exciting numbers to offer about tree plantings for this year. So we instituted our tree replacement program in areas C and D in the village according to the recycling map. Now, we've had a regular line item in the Parks and Rec budget for 2 years, so we focused on Section A first with that line item, and we planted 25 trees. Then the next year we focused on Section B and planted another 25 trees, I believe. So this year we were able to, the village Parks and Rec Department was able to inspect 225 sites where trees have been previously taken down. And of those 225 sites in Section C and D, 114 of them were suitable for planting trees. So we're interested in doing this the right way. So if they, after doing the markouts, if there were utilities there or sewer line, tree roots like to go into there and block them and back them up. So that's no good. That would rule out a site. Not tree, but utility poles and wires. They're too close to the ground for like oaks and maples and your bigger shade trees, so you have smaller, more decorative trees to plant underneath there. So in total, 114 trees will be planted, and every site was inspected, and every site that was able to hold a tree will now have a tree after the fall planting commences in either near the end of October or beginning of November. There were so many trees, there were a few trees left over, so we backfilled a few spaces in Section A. Then through our Adopt a Tree program, which is in its third year, the first 2 years we had about 11 or 12 trees that people would purchase. They pay for the tree and for the planting of a street tree in front of their home. This year we had 27 people, 27 trees sold. Some people bought 2 or 3 trees. So 27 trees sold through the Adopt a Tree program, and actually they had to cut it off so they could get the bid out and get the species of tree that people wanted. And we still have, now we have 1 tree for the 2018 Adopt a Tree program, so we still have 1 waiting there. And the engineering department, I'd like to thank Chris Rutheshauser for this, looking at the entire streetscape. So previously, when we paved the street, the village would look at the paving, the curb works, drainage, and this year we've expanded that streetscape a little bit further to now look at street trees. That netted about 100 trees planted throughout the village. So this year is really a lot of trees getting planted. More than 241 that I spoke about here, and then there's also an additional $15,000 set aside out of the tree replacement program to specifically look at the central business district. So that will not only include just trees, but we will rehabilitate the tree wells where we're going to plant the new trees so they actually have a better chance at survival, because it's a stressful environment. A lot of the soil's impacted. There's conduit down there. There's a lot of crazy things in there. The committee, with the help of the village, did excavate one of these tree wells, and they pulled out some pretty bizarre and interesting things. So you never know what's down there, but as trees need to be replaced in the central business district, we'll be adding root guards and watering systems to them to make sure that they could get water. We're going to redesign the tree wells so they don't have the brick lip around them so water could get in there, and the trees have a much better chance at survival. So depending on that, it looks like we could be planting a total of more than 250 trees this year throughout the village of Ridgewood. So I'd just like to thank Tim Cronin and Chris Retheshauser and everybody in the Shade Tree Division of Parks and Rec, and the Shade Tree Commission, of course, and everybody who's worked very, very hard to get us to this point, because prior to 3 years ago, the village was planting 0 trees, and they were just taking them down. So we were in an immense deficit and just getting deeper and deeper in the hole, and now we're starting to come back a little bit and repopulate the canvas of the village of Ridgewood for the quality of life and everyone's enjoyment. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Walsh?
Thank you, Mayor. For Ridgewood Arts Council, item 17280, request permission for dedication by writer. The Ridgewood Arts Council wanted to be set up like REACT, so any monies that come into the village that are earmarked for the Ridgewood Arts Council would go to that account. So that was a formality that we have to set this up so that everybody understands that the monies are donated to the Ridgewood Arts Council / Village of Ridgewood. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. I have a flyer here, and I'm just wondering how we're going to disseminate it. I believe it's on his website, but Mayor Schmeltz of Bergenfield is sponsoring a Mayors for Hurricane Victims at Hakeem International and International Wholesale Liquidators. They will provide inventory at wholesale cost to people who donate to hurricane victims. This was initially for Texas, but it is now for Florida as well. The address is 31 Portland Ave, near to the rear entrance of Tommy Fox's. There will also be a table at the Street Fest at the Teaneck Armory, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. It's this weekend, September 16th and 17th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. They'll also be collecting clothing, toiletries, anything except cash donations to help for the shipping costs. And Tommy Fox's, if you bring the flyer, they're going to donate 20% of your shopping bill towards the effort as well. So this is on Mayor Schmeltz's Facebook site, and I believe it's on Bergenfield's website, but we'll see if we can maybe get it posted as well if anybody needs the link to it. And that's all I have.
Okay. Councilman Hache?
Just a few things. The Shedler Ad Hoc Committee had its third meeting as an entire committee. Because of the amount of work and the scope of everything that has to happen on the site, we've also had subcommittees within to handle particular areas. So there was one that looked at the phase 1 of the cleanup for the house and the dead trees, and that was completed. The work was completed in terms of what we needed to review. There was also last week a meeting with all the different sports teams to identify what are the needs for field usage that each of the sports team has. So we're taking into consideration all the feedback that we received, and we're now looking at the third group that we're working on the design phase, and we'll be making several proposals to the entire committee on what we have come up so far, incorporating the feedback that we've received from residents, both from the Shedler area and outside of the Shedler area, and the sports groups, and obviously working very closely with village staff and engineering and Parks and Recreation to come up with the designs. CBDAC meets tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. downstairs in the garden room. We have appointed a new member, Michael Pickholes. He has been appointed to the CBDAC. He's a great addition to the committee. I'm really looking forward to working with him. He has been a business owner in town, a sports coach, dad, and all-around great guy. I think he'll be providing some great input to the committee. The estate card. There will be a press release sent to the papers this week. And the tax bills, there will be a letter from the mayor about the estate card, and these will be mailed out on September 15th. Just a reminder, the League of Women Voters will be hosting a public water forum on Thursday, October 5th. 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. here at Village Hall in the Senior Center. The featured presenters, Richard Calby, Director of Ridgewood Water, and Daniel Timney, the Business Manager. And then there was just one last thing. Knights of Columbus is hosting their annual stickball tournament on Saturday, October 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Registration begins at 9:30 a.m. At the Knights of Columbus Hall. The proceeds will benefit recently homeless men and women who struggle with addiction. You can sign up to have co-ed teams of 4 members. It's $100 per team. But it'll be a great event. Hopefully we'll have some good weather. There'll be lots of food and lots of fun as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So last week, the Hilt Patio Picnic was enjoyed by many of our seniors who enjoyed delicious lunch sandwiches, treats, coffee, and dessert. Seniors had the opportunity to sign up for a variety of Hilt trips and programs, and during the patio lunch, attendees were treated to entertainment provided by a local magician. A good time was had by everyone, and it was especially nice to catch up with some old friends, and wanted to thank Deanna Shablik and Parks and Rec for arranging and doing all the work. Deanna was out there really early in the morning, picking up chairs, moving tables, organizing everything, and it was a tremendous amount of work for her, and we're really grateful for her, her effort and commitment. The annual Chamber of Commerce Car Show was held this past Friday evening. Spectacular weather, the cars were magnificent, and the turnout was amazing. So it was really a treat to see all those beautiful cars, and they look especially fitting in our central business district. I wanted to point out, Councilman Voigt did speak about the meet and greet, meeting our new Ridgewoodians. I wanted to thank our village manager for organizing every year. It's just a treat to meet our new residents, and it's always a lovely morning. The World Explorer Club held its grand opening Saturday afternoon, and I urge everyone to check out this amazing new business located at 113 Cottage Place. World Explorer classes are designed to introduce children to new cultures and include learning new languages, enjoying organic snacks, solving riddles, talking about architecture, dressing up as characters, and diving into history. Evidently, children aren't even aware that they've been learning because they're having so much fun. So the business, they really appreciate when council members come out and support in ribbon cuttings, and I was grateful at the ribbon cutting that the Deputy Mayor and Councilman Hache were there, so it was really nice. Our Lady of Mount Carmel held Mass on September 11th, reflecting on the events of 16 years ago and in memory of all those lost and our own village residents. During Mass, I was invited to read a proclamation on behalf of this village council, heartfelt, and Mass was beautiful. Historic Preservation Commission meeting is scheduled for tomorrow night, has been canceled since we have no applications. We just don't think we should come to the meeting. It's that time of year again. July 4th committee will be meeting Monday, September 18th, 7:30 p.m. at the Ridgewood Firehouse. Feel free to email me with any 4th of July theme suggestions, and I'll be happy to present those. Tuesday before the regular planning board meeting, our master plan subcommittee will be meeting to continue formulating plans for our visionary process and our village-wide survey. So we're really excited about that because we're going to start to put this really more together and start moving a little bit more quickly on it. This morning I attended the monthly Chamber of Commerce meeting on behalf of Councilman Hache. There was a robust discussion about parking initiatives, including garage update, addition of CBD employee spaces at the North Walnut Lot, train station, valet shuttle buses, and this council's commitment to exploring all avenues to address CBD parking needs. Some chamber members actually expressed a desire, and I think we should probably take this up and think it through, expressed an interest in extending the meter hours to 8 p.m., and there was a logic behind it, and so we can discuss that at a later date. Additional discussion included the soon-ordered lamp post banners, which are really exciting because we've been waiting for these for a long time, and those lamp posts kind of look empty without the banner, so these will be beautiful and really add some excitement downtown. Estate card opportunities for Ridgewood businesses and the new downtown Ridgewood.com website. Chamber members were sincerely grateful for the effort, time, and money we're putting into ensuring the CBD has the tools to be successful. Sunday, the Ridgewood Guild held an amazing event at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square, the Ridgewood Guild 2017 Music Fest, and it really was amazing. And I know Denise Lima pointed that out earlier. Live bands featured the Declan Power Band, Country Joe Trio, Blue Plate Special, it's typed wrong, Eugene Thomas and No Big Deal, Stilettos, Treble, and No Money Down. The event included fine food from our local restaurants and a beer and wine garden, and it was really just incredible. Anyone wishing to join the Ridgewood Guild or interested in learning about upcoming events, visit ridgewoodguild.com. I left these two items for last for a reason, because I was invited up to say a few words during the Music Fest event, and as I stood there and looking out at all the people and the effort of our local restaurants and the beer garden and the bands, and these are all local bands, these are homegrown bands, and I know some of these folks for a lot of years. It just reminded me the effort that's put into making these events available to our community, but it is really driven by our businesses in the Central Business District. So when I was asked to say a few words, the only thing I could think of was the fourth quarter is barreling forward and will be upon us in very short order, and I remind everyone to please support our local businesses in Ridgewood, and that's all I have, so we can move on. Appreciate that.
Okay, Ridgewood Water has no introduction or public hearings on ordinances. The next is resolutions for Ridgewood Water, so the following resolution, numbered 17-252, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council, and it will be read by title only. Award contract under state contract chlorine analyzers. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Okay. And with that, we'll move on to regular ordinances. Introduction of 3613. I move the first reading of ordinance 3613.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, so ordered. Will clerk please read the ordinance 3613 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-42, Reserved Parking Spaces, and Section 265-55, Schedule 5, U-turn prohibitions, and Section 265-66, No Stopping or Standing, and Section 265-69, Schedule 19, Time Limit Parking.
Oh, sorry. I move that ordinance 3613 be adopted on first reading, that October 11th, 2017 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 3614.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, so ordered. Will clerk please read ordinance 3614 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-69, Time Limit Parking.
I move that ordinance 3614 be adopted on first reading, and that October 11th, 2017 be fixed as a date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 3615.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, so ordered. Will clerk please read ordinance 3615 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-74, Schedule 24, Bus Stops.
I move that ordinance 3615 be adopted on first reading and October 11, 2017 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 3616.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
Newton.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3616 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-29, Parking Meter Zone Designated.
I move that ordinance 3616 be adopted on first reading, and that October 11th, 2017 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Ashay?
Yes.
Sidon?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3617.
Second?
Ashay?
Yes.
Sidon?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3617 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
I move that ordinance 3617 be adopted on first reading and that October 11, 2017 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second?
Ashay?
Yes.
Sidon?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
There are no ordinances for public hearing. So therefore, the following resolutions numbered 17-253 through 17-283 will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Title 59, approval renovation of Somerville tennis courts. Award contract, renovation of Somerville tennis courts. Title 59, approval furnishing and delivering of polymer water pollution control facility. Award contract, furnishing and delivering of polymer water pollution control facility. Title 59, approval sodium bisulfite and sodium hypochlorite solutions water pollution control facility. Award contract, sodium bisulfite and sodium hypochlorite solutions water pollution control facility. Title 59, approval laboratory analysis services water pollution control facility and grading pool. Award contract, laboratory analysis services, water pollution control facility, and grading pool. Title 59, approval, Phase 1 cleanup Shibler property. Award contract, Phase 1 cleanup Shibler property. Title 59, approval, snow plowing services. Award contract, snow plowing services. Title 59, approval, pickup, removal, and hauling of leaves. Award contract, pickup, removal, and hauling of leaves. Title 59, approval, Central Valet Parking Services pilot program for Central Business District. Award contract, Central Valet Parking Services pilot program for Central Business District. Award contract under state contract, electronic equipment and computer upgrades, Dell. Award contract under state contract, electronic equipment and computer upgrades, SHI. Award contract under state contract, 2018 Chevy Tahoe for the fire department. Accept Bergen County Historic Preservation Grant, Zabriskie Shibler House Phase 1. Authorize partial release of escrow funds, 309 Maston Place LLC. Establish annual service charge and payment for guarantee bond for Ridgewood Senior Citizen Housing Corporation and guarantee of payment of revenue bonds. Authorize tax collector to charge for mailing of tax sale notices. Authorize cleaning of Grove Park area by the Ridgewood Wildscape Association and Rotary Club of Ridgewood AM. Establish Village of Ridgewood as B City USA. Refer study of Hudson Street parking lot as area in need of redevelopment to Planning Board. Authorize Ridgewood Wildscape Association to distribute door hangers. Request permission for dedication by rider, cultural arts purposes. Appoint members to Special Projects Task Force. Appoint members to Ridgewood Arts Council. Appoint members to Central Business District Advisory Committee. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ashay?
Yes.
Sidon?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
Resolution number 17-284 will be considered separately and read in full. Whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood adopted resolution number 13-88 on April 24th, 2013 to establish a financial advisory committee. And whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood has decided that a financial advisory committee is no longer necessary, as their duties were to enhance budgetary and financial consideration and review, which duties are capably performed by the Village of Ridgewood's Chief Financial Officer. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that resolution number 13-88 entitled "A Resolution to Create in the Village of Ridgewood a New Committee Known as the Financial Advisory Committee" be and is hereby rescinded. May I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second?
Ashay?
Yes.
Sidon?
Yes.
Voight?
Before I answer that, I just have a couple concerns. So I found the entire process of going through Financial Advisory Committee and the Special Projects Task Force, frankly, I found it rather opaque. frankly, I had an opportunity for inputs and comments into it, and I found that rather strange, considering I was the liaison to the Financial Advisory Committee, and that the people who actually reside on this committee, and frankly, I'm not even sure who wrote the resolution or had input into it. That concerns me, and it concerns me for a couple of reasons. This kind of behavior, it seems to be happening more frequently. And I'll give you a couple of other examples. It's happening with the Community Relations Advisory Board and identifying members for this committee. Frankly, I have no idea who's been chosen for that committee, who's been left off. And I think it should be a concern to the people who are involved in CRAB moving forward. It seems to be becoming more of the norm than the exception. And my concern is that if I'm ill-informed, I'm assuming the public is probably even worse off. And especially when it comes to them buying stuff, for instance, large projects like the Hudson Street Garage and the town garage lot at the southwest corner of North Walnut and Franklin. There's been no to minimal input into any of this, and I have to say that Mr. Hallaby's probably right, that the public should be very concerned about this, and based on this, my vote is no to not rescind this.
Okay. Walsh
Yes.
and Knudsen.
Well, before I vote, I'm going to make my comments in response. The Special Project Task Force was discussed at length during a Village Council work session. There was a tremendous amount of discussion leading up to that, and my recollection is that Councilman Voigt was here. In terms of the Community Relations Advisory Board, there was an issue with or a concern that for years, the chairperson of the Community Relations Advisory Board received a list of appointed members, and every year there was a question, are there any changes? And the answer was, I think, no response. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for the most part, there was no response. Once in a while, there would be a few changes.
And so I did ask the Community Relations Advisory Board chairperson for a list of who she had as members, and she didn't have appointed members. She renamed it as actively participating members, and the list that we had given her was long, outdated. Most of the people had either moved away, and we understood these people to be on community relations. And I'm just a little concerned, actually, that why we're discussing this here, but I don't even know the appropriateness of having the conversation here. So in any event, there's no opaque, everything is transparent, everything is discussed right here, and I can't speak for people who are, if they're, not listening, but in any event, so my vote is yes, and that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. And with that, we will move back to public comment.
Good evening. Boyd Loving, 342 South Irving Street. I'd like to express my concerns with respect to the resolution you passed tonight awarding a $36,000 not-to-exceed contract for the trial of the valet parking. And my concern is that the last work session I was at, there was some discussion about this trial, and I believe the indication was that no amount of money had been established yet for what parkers would pay, nor have any businesses been reached out to determine if they're willing to participate in this by sponsoring it in some way in terms of giving money. So right now, because it's September 13th, if I see the resolution correctly, this is supposed to take effect on October 1st. I know that the wheels of municipal government sometimes don't act too fast, so my concern is that there's really no meat to this yet. We've awarded a $36,000 contract, but we don't know how we're going to manage this. We don't know how we're going to execute it. There's been no rate set for what parkers would pay, and none of the businesses have said they're willing to kick in. So my concern is that I don't know if this contract holder has a minimum that she has to be paid But unless we get the wheels moving pretty quickly and figure out how we're going to execute this, I don't want the taxpayers to be on the hook for $36,000 or a portion of $36,000 because nobody else is willing to pay for it. Now, I believe several months ago there was some discussion about maybe $4 for the parkers, but that was several months ago. Haven't heard anything recently about that. And again, no business names have been discussed. So again, it's September 13th. This all has to take place and be in place by October 1st, and there are no plans. Again, my concern is that I don't want the taxpayers to be on the hook for this entire $36,000 or a portion of it because people aren't moving to get the gears in motion to get a plan in place. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Boyd. Anyone?
Good evening, Ann Loving, 342 South Irving Street. I'd like to make a comment about the resolution that you rescinded this evening about the Financial Advisory Committee. I attend pretty much every single one of these Village Council work sessions and public meetings, and discussion was ongoing about that. There were many people from the public who commented. There was heated discussion from the dais about it. I have no idea what the councilman is talking about, that there was opacity. I was hearing all of this conversation. I also fully support that you rescinded this group for various reasons that I stated at the mic earlier, and also an Oprah request, that's an Oprah request that I submitted in January for communications among members of the FAC revealed that they had almost gone rogue and were trying to get involved in confidential negotiations with the police department and so on. I mean, that committee had to be put a stop to. The documents that I received were just extremely revealing, and I'm really glad that you went ahead and did this, and I'm really resentful that there would be an implication that there was an open discussion, because I heard tons of open discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Okay. Okay. Did anyone want to comment about the pricing on that right now? Do we have anything in place? Okay. All right. So and we anticipate doing that in short order? Okay.
Yeah, we'll discuss this at our meeting on September 27th, and we'll have a special public meeting during that work session, which will be properly noticed so that we can vote on that resolution.
So I knew we had the special public meeting, but I just didn't recall the date, so I didn't want to respond and be inaccurate. So with that, I guess we're done. We can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Oh, no, you did. Yay. Thank you. Where's your little label? Where's your... Oh, thank you.
Great.
Wonderful. So excited. Bee City. Are the cameras still rolling? What is it? Bee City. It is. Yeah. Thank you.
Looking forward to it if you ever need it.